So I'm gonna record us just so nothing is misconstrued. Like you don't think I'm saying something different or whatever. Again, just an interview. You're here on your own. It is not an interrogation. Just kind of want to get your side of something.
Okay, because I've never had anything like this ever happen. So like instantly my mind is like, I don't even know when you ask for a union rep, like when those apply, like.
A union rep, I think, would be more for your department.
That's what I figured. So, like, when you called, and I was like...
And you're like, what?
What the...
Okay, so here, we'll just get into it, and then you can decide what you want to do or whatever. Do you know do you know who that is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've met with him once.
Okay. How do you know him?
Where I live in Lindenhurst.
Okay.
I was driving home one night with my best friend. We're on our way back from, forgot where the hell we were, but it was probably like 3 a.m, something like late, and we were driving back, and he was just skateboarding around like the complex I live in.
Oh, okay.
And he came up to my car as, I was on my way home, and he's like, hey, how's it going? We were like, hey, what's up? And he's just kind of like bullshitting, and he's like, oh, do you have Snapchat? And I was like, sure. So he's like, oh, we'll just talk on there, and he'd like Snapchat me once in a while, and then one day he's like, hey, do you want to hang out? And I was like, sure. He's like, I'm hanging out at my place, chilling, listening to music, whatever. It's like, if you want to stop by. And I was like, yeah, what the hell? So cruised by over there, hung out with him, and it was kind of weird. Like, he was like just all over the place with different stuff about how his dad was in jail, and then like people were coming by, and then he said some weird shit about how he owned the house, but then they were selling it, and then he's like, oh, people might be coming by, they might not be, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then somebody did come home, and he's like, oh, it's just my dad. I'm like, the guy that's supposed to be in like jail right now? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is weird, like I'm out of here.
Okay. So that was like December, like beginning of December. Is that when you were over there? Something like that. That means that's no. Okay.
Honestly, I have no idea. It could have been sometime in December.
Okay.
It's not something that I really like would have noted.
Yeah. So what ends up happening is one of our guys got a call to go down to Illinois to a hospital. Reference Boyd, and he claimed that he was sexually assaulted. And he said he didn't know the person's name. He said the only thing that he knew is the Snapchat name of Demon Pep. And they went through their thing. He gave a statement, gave a no consent, or signed a no consent, signed a release of healthcare records, that kind of stuff. And then towards the end of it, he's like, well, you know what? I don't know if I want to move forward with this because. Long and short of it ends up being he didn't know who it was, whatever. So fast forward a little bit, and that report, those things come back by us, and there was some information that came up that said that Demon Pep was you. Okay, so of course I get that, kind of start running with it, kind of looking into stuff, and was able to connect at least that Demon Pep thing that it is you or whatever. And made contact with him and just said, just wanted to kind of find out what exactly the deal was, like why he didn't move forward or, whatever. He said one of the reasons why he didn't want to say anything at that point, or he left it open-ended, I should say, is because he didn't want his parent or his dad to know about it or his family to know about it, that something happened to him without knowing who the person was. He said he thought it was embarrassing or whatever. Okay, so
that's really weird because he's messaging me after like, hey, we need to hang out, and I'm like, dude, you're kind of weird, like, like the whole like house setup, and then like he was joking around like something about drugs and some other shit, and I was just like, yeah, no, I'm like, so he's messaged me since like, hey, we should hang out, you should come by, and I'm like, yeah,
okay. So, I guess here's the deal. He went that night. He went to the hospital because apparently,
sorry.
Okay. He claimed that he was in pain and thought he was injured or whatever and wanted to get checked out or whatever. Basically, what he's saying in his statement, I went through the statement. He said that you came over. Basically everything that you've said all matched. I mean, you guys met down in Lindenhurst by his mom's house or something like that. He was walking around. You guys talked, snapped back and forth, that kind of stuff, and that he invited you over for drinks or whatever. That's what he claims. Then he says that you guys came over, or you came over. You were watching American Dad or something like that.
That and music and something on TV. Yeah.
Okay, and that he was drinking. I believe it was tequila, and had a couple of drinks of that, and he said that you had a Six Flags Great America cup, and that he asked you what was in it. You claim this is what he's saying, just letting you know, that you said that it was vodka and Red Bull. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, well, can I try some? He says he had a couple of sips, and then he said he passed out. He said he blacked out is what his
that's not
exact.
accurate.
Okay, well I'm just telling you what he said. He said that you blacked out, or that he blacked out, and then he said he woke up. He was kind of hazy. He was on his bed naked, and he said that you were having sex with him, and then he passed out again, and then woke up later, and then he said everybody nobody was there. He was by himself on the bed, and that the room was kind of trashed or whatever. And
none of that's accurate at all.
Oh, okay.
Like at all. Like I said, who he said was his father was home.
Okay.
His door doesn't even close.
Okay.
It doesn't have hinges.
Okay.
And the guy that he claimed was his dad was.
Is there physically a door there, or is it just
on the floor in the room? Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I did have my Six Flags cup. He's like, if you want to come over and chill. So, I had the stuff in my trunk. Came over because I don't trust people with my drinks.
Sure.
So I brought my own drink over, and we were drinking. Listening to music, watching music videos, listening to music, watching TV and stuff.
Okay.
And no, at no point in time that whole explanation is completely off the wall and not accurate.
Did you guys never had sex of any type? Nothing consensual? Did you guys fool around? I mean, it stays in this room. It's not like I'm going to broadcast anything, but I need to understand why he would claim that this is happening.
He came on to me.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. I'm like, that's a little unusual. And he's like, sit on the bed, get closer. And I'm like, you're kind of weird,
okay.
I'm kind of whatever, and then he did come on to me.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, and then he's like, oh, I really want to perform oral sex on you, and I was like, okay.
Okay.
So that happened, and then I'm like, it's getting late, I gotta get going, and he's like, oh, stay the night, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not staying, I gotta get going, and then he walked me out to my car.
Okay. What time do you think you got there and leave? How much time do you think went by?
I'm not even sure how many different things we watched.
Okay. Did you get there? Was it light out? Was it dark out? Do you at least remember any of that part? I know it's going back a little bit.
I know it was dark when I left.
Okay. And do you have any idea what time that would have been? Roughly?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So, as far as having anal sex or anything, you guys never did that? None of that ever happened? Or it did?
It did.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So and it was totally consensual?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. It's 'cause
he suggested it, and I'm like, yeah, again, I wasn't, I don't know, it just seemed kind of weird.
Okay.
He went from let's hang out to all of a sudden, he really wanted to, do all this extra stuff.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know, that wasn't, my purpose for being there.
Sure.
And then he kept saying something about, oh, I don't use condoms, I don't need them, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, that's, I don't know. It was weird.
Okay. So what you're saying is he performed oral sex on you.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever have anal sex with you, or was it just you had anal sex with him?
Just him.
Okay. And why? Any idea why he would be making a claim that? I mean, was he like drinking a lot or something like that? I mean, why would he? Why do you think he would make a claim like that he got? Because he's basically saying he feels he got drugged and got knocked out.
Not the case at all.
Okay.
He was completely coherent from start to finish. Like I said, he walked me out and he's like, "Hey, I had a lot of fun. We should do this again."
Okay.
And then afterwards, that's when I was just like, that was like a really weird situation, especially like, you know, I mean, Dad's home, he's there. I'm like,
where was Dad when he was home?
Walking around the apartment. He gave me like 5 different names for him too. So when you first said that, it took me a second to think about who you were even talking about.
Figure out who he was.
He's got all these different names, and Dad was like walking through the apartment. There were a couple times he jumped up and went and talked to Dad, and then.
So when you say apartment, where did this happen?
Well, not apartment, house somewhere.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure because where he said he lived was at a house, and you're saying apartment. So I just kind of want. Okay. Was it out west? Was it in the city? Was it on the north side? Do you remember? I know that goes back a ways.
He Snapchatted me an address.
Okay.
And I cruised out that way. Like, you know, the snaps disappear.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, after he had sent me some messages like, "Oh, hey, what's up? We should hang out. I had fun, blah, blah." And I told him, I was like, "Dude, I don't know." I'm like, the whole situation's like kind of weird, like the way the house is set up, and then you're telling me Dad's in jail, and
then he all of a sudden shows up,
and then he's there, and then like you're wandering around, and then, you know, like, so the whole time I was there, he kept encouraging me to drink more, and I'm like, why? Like, I'm like, if I have a drink, I'm like, it's to like relax and chill, not get like wasted. Like, I just want to, like, you know, take my time and enjoy a drink. And he kept telling me, he's like, "Oh, drink more. And I'm like, why would you push me to drink like that?
So I've only been to the house briefly, so I don't know it super well. Probably know it similarly, I guess. Did you go in the front door or side door or back door, or when you went to? I know it's a while ago, but
front door, I would assume.
Okay. And where do you remember where his room was from there?
I think when you walk in, like, to the left.
Okay, like a hallway or just a room, or?
Yeah, there was like a hallway.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I just because when I went there really wasn't much in the house. It was pretty.
And it's weird because he actually, I think it was like 2 days ago, just Snapchatted me like a picture of himself, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And again,
Now, like, when you say a picture, what do you mean?
Like, you take a picture of yourself, like a selfie, and then you can put words on it. It's like, "Hey, what's up? Like, how's it going?" And like, I don't know. That's.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's one of those things that when you get a complaint, you kind of got to do it, follow through with it. And like we were talking on the phone, I just didn't want to go into all this stuff over the phone because
that's understandable.
It just did he send you anything that was not after this event? Did he send you anything that wasn't Snapchat that you might still have on your phone?
Mm-hmm. No,
Snapchat?
Everything was through Snapchat, and he just kept messaging me that he wanted to keep hanging out. And so on and so forth, and it was just kind of.
I would imagine that we could subpoena the records for that to see.
I just didn't know if it was something that he could have still had.
I mean, he routinely sends me like pictures and like little videos of, "Oh, I'm at this party, and we're partying and we're doing this," and then he mentioned something about. That was the other really like unusual thing was. He's like, "Oh, my girlfriend," and I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." And he's like, "Oh, like, do you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, whatever?" And I'm like, got into that whole topic.
Sure.
And he's like, "Oh, you're gay, haha." And I'm like, okay. I'm like, if that's a problem, like, I'm like, I don't know why you'd want to hang out then. Like, I can go. And he's like, "No, it's all good." And then.
So that was the night we were at.
That was that night, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've only hung out the one time.
Okay.
And
I just didn't know if it was over Snapchat or if that was actually in person.
Like in person.
Okay.
And it was just so weird because like the whole time he kept like rotating through like what we were watching, and then going back to, oh, you're gay, that's cool, haha. And then just like progressively throughout the night, it was like, come sit next to me, come do this, come do that. And it's like, I'm like, what is like your focus here? Because you're telling me you want to hang out, and then, you know, you're starting to do like all this extra stuff that wasn't the purpose of me coming over here.
Okay.
So.
All right. Yeah, like I said, the main thing is just, you know, I wanted to get your side of it, because the only thing I've heard so far was, you know, what he's claiming or what he has to say.
Yeah, I've got nothing to hide about it.
Sure.
So.
And again, because of the allegations and with my bosses getting involved, they of course went to your side and talked to your bosses.
Oh, that's 100% understandable. I mean, that's a serious thing. So.
Yeah. So from my understanding, and I, you know, we'll get a hold of them. From my understanding, just to soften the blow, it sounds like they might put you on administrative leave for a little bit, just until this goes through or whatever, and they look at what's
Also
going
understandable.
on.
But yeah, like, you know, at first I'm sitting there, and of course, like, everybody's like, because I call one of the guys that I work with regularly, and I'm like,
Okay.
I gotta go talk to the sheriff. So I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, because I was a military police officer for 8 years.
Okay.
I've been in the city almost 8 years. Like, you know, never had any kind of problems with everything.
Yeah.
And if you ask everybody, I'm like one of the most like careful, uptight, like if I speed on my way into work, I'm at work and I'm like, fuck. Like,
Did someone call me and get my
I actually thought that might be like what this was going to be about, because the other day I was running late and I was like hauling ass down 52nd Street, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, somebody saw me in uniform in my car, and that's what they're calling me about.
Okay.
But
yeah, it's just you know, it's one of those things that, you know, you kind of have to follow through with, and I really appreciate you coming in and talking, because you know, as you know, you've been doing it for quite some time. There's always this story, and then there's something.
I just don't understand like why he would claim something like weird when he's the one that was like all over me and then messaging me like, oh hey, you need to come over and like walk me out and like wear all this. Like, there was no point in time did he ever stop talking or seem like you know, he was unaware of anything. And like through the entire thing, like the entire night from start to finish, there was constant verbal communication. And
so I mean, maybe it's something you don't know or don't remember, but did he get into like his sexuality at all or say anything about that? I mean, I'm trying to understand why.
He told me he had a girlfriend.
Okay.
And from what I picked up from him, he was curious about, you know, what it would be like to be with a guy. Was
Okay.
what I like got from him.
Okay.
And then I was like, you know, okay, I guess. And because he mentioned having a girlfriend, and then like the way he was focusing on me being gay, and then he kept saying, oh, that's really cool and blah blah. And I was like, well, what about you? And he's like, oh, I'm kind of whatever, was the way he described it. But then he said that, you know, he wasn't like, I can't remember how the hell he even phrased it. Like I said, I had been drinking as well, so it's like I've trying to remember how the hell he phrased that, where it was something along the lines like, at first he made it seem like it was something that was, you know, common to him. Okay. And then like something kind of unusual. Like I said, he was from start to finish, he was like all over the place about everything, like on details. And at one point I was ready to just like get up and leave early on, because he mentioned something about he made like a joke like where his dad's room was, if I remember it, when you walk in the front door, it's like straight across. Okay. And there was like a light on in there, and I think it was like a soft noise from like the TV or something. And I'm like, oh, like, you know, is that where we're gonna hang out, or is it like out here? Because there wasn't really like stuff like in the house. Like, it was a weird setup. So he's like, oh no, he's like, that's the grow room, and he joked, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, that's not fucking funny. Yeah. I'm like, let's get something straight, like right now. Like, if this is a fucking trap house or that's a grow room or any shit like that, I'm like, that's not a funny joke, and if it is, you need to tell me right now, and I'm the fuck out of here, because I'm like,
I don't need to get caught up with that.
there is no way in hell I'm going anywhere near that type of stuff. And then he just kind of like laughed and joked, and that's when he gave me 2 other versions of whose room it was, and I was like, okay, but he opened the door and I could see it was a TV in the bed, and there was obviously like no drugs being like grown in there.
Sure.
And then I think it was like a week or something after we hung out, he mentioned something about like shooting a bow and arrow in his backyard, because that was one of the things that we had talked about, was that I like to shoot a bow and arrow. So he's like, oh, you should come over and we should do that. And I'm like, okay.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it pretty much kind of answers everything that I was.
Well, not for me, because I'd like to know why in the fuck you would invite somebody over, encourage them to drink more, tell them that you want to do things with them, and then, unless it's one of those things where he's like freaking out because he might be gay and doesn't want to deal with that kind of thing, or...
Yeah, I don't know. It's a possibility.
I don't know. But this really just turned my world like upside down right now.
Yeah, and I'll of course we'll be digging into it even more, because after talking,
naturally,
I'll be able to kind of talk to him again and ask him some stuff. But so yeah, like I said, I do appreciate you coming in, because I know it's. And being very straightforward about it too, because
Oh, I know if you try
any sort of intimacy is hard to talk about at all, and then when you have someone making these claims, that doesn't make it any easier.
No.
So.
And I mean, it's one of those things too, where I've been in a relationship for 3 years, and we have our own set of rules about what we can and can't do, like outside of it. So I've been with the same person for 3 years now. We live together. Like my mom is staying with me and stuff. So. It's just one of those things too, where it's like fuck, I want you guys to, go through it and get everything you possibly can on it, because it's one of those things where we don't, especially like with the media and stuff now.
Oh god.
You don't want them thinking that you cover your own and blah blah, but it's scary too, because you're sitting there like, why in the fuck would somebody say something like that? That's like
hard to disprove a negative, right?
It's not true at all, and it's just like it's mind-blowing to me that somebody would do something like that and make that claim, and at the same time now it just now started to hit me, like moving forward, being placed on leave, and then everything else that that goes along with that.
Yeah, none of it is enjoyable. I can tell you I sure don't enjoy it, so I know you won't. So but I can't make you the promise. I'll do the best I can to get to the bottom of things, because
I'd appreciate it.
I mean, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, and Tim is very good at it. So and obviously because of the nature of this, it attracts attention. So our bosses are looking, your bosses are looking, all that stuff. So I assure you, Tim will work even faster, because that becomes a real problem.
Yeah, and just so you know, this isn't something that we're shouting from the rooftops or anything like that. So it's not. It's pretty contained as far as I know. I mean, I don't know about on that side, but it's not something to go telling everybody about. So.
It's just so weird for me, because I'm always sitting where you are, and now I know what it's like when somebody's on this side of the desk. This is
we recognize the uncomfortableness of it.
It's just that's crazy. And like coming in, I was texting my partner, and I'm like, hey, I gotta go talk to the sheriffs, and he's like, you're the last person I would ever expect to do anything wrong. So he's like, don't panic, and I'm like, I'm not, and like I couldn't even dream of a reason other than I said, speeding. Like coming in here, like what could it even possibly be?
Yeah, and that's what everybody that I shouldn't not from this, but it's not like I know you well or anything. We work second shift on the same, in the same area or in the same county, but I've never heard anyone say anything ill-willed towards you ever. I mean, it's like
I said, I don't even draw citizen complaints. It's one of those things where it's like the whole way driving in, I'm like, what in the hell could that even possibly be? And it's, I don't know. Like, my mind's like going like a million miles an hour right now. I'm like, you know, my partner that I work with, he's like, oh, well, if it seems like it's going to be something bad, he's like, don't say anything, ask for a lawyer, ask for a union rep. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, whatever it is, I'm like, I make it a point, we're police officers, we're supposed to, you know, protect people. I'm like, whatever it is, I know I didn't do anything. I'm like, I don't need to ask for shit. I'm like, whatever questions they have,
well, and
I'm going to answer. And, you know, if there's no reason to beat around the bush or try to, you know.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate it because that makes it a whole lot easier because then, you know, if you came in here and said, well, I don't want to say anything to you, see you later, well, then you have to kind of, not that you assume someone's guilty of something, but you're like, well, this doesn't make it any easier to investigate when, you know, when you only have the one side of the story. So like I said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I appreciate you being, you know, up for straightforward with me and
I wish I could remember more about the details for you about the date and time and location and everything. Well, like I said, it's one of those things where, I mean, it sounds kind of awful to say, but like when you're not really like, excuse me, when you're in a relationship and, you know, you both have situations where you can do something outside of the relationship, it's not really something that you go like on a hunt for, because, you know, like, and then, you know, respect to the person you're with, you want to keep things like, you know, as quiet as possible because you don't want all your neighbors being like, oh, you know, there's those crazy gays, like, so it's, I don't know, my mind is going like 2 million miles an hour right now, and it's just, it's one of those things where you see it happen to people and you just never ever expect that like something like that would like happen to you. Especially after, I mean, like, if there was like a weird, like, you know, like sometimes like if you are doing like somewhat promiscuous things, like you go to a club and you meet somebody and like, you know, if you go back to their place and you hook up and then afterwards they kind of have that look on their face like, oh, why do I do that? I'm always just hooking up with people, and then all these like one night stands, and you could kind of see like a look on their face like, why do I keep doing this? Like, that's not really what they're looking for in life, but they keep doing it. Like that, you could kind of get a feeling like, okay, this person's obviously out doing things in life that they should probably reevaluate. Yeah. But I mean, in that situation, it was, you know, oh, let me kiss you goodbye, let me walk you out to your car, and that was the other thing I just thought of. When he wanted to walk me to my car, I'm like, I know how to get there, but thank you. He came outside without clothes on, and I'm like, dude, I'm like... You mean like totally naked? Or? He had a blanket. Oh, okay. Like a blanket on him, but he wasn't like really concerned about, and he's like, dude, it's out in the, you know, there's like nobody around. We're like way out here. He's like, you know, my dad's the only one that's home. And he came outside in the blanket, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, cover yourself up. That, and I remember it was like cold. Okay. So I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, just walking to your car. And he's like, you should come back soon. And I'm like, yeah, we'll... So like, we'll see. You said that he's texted. He's snapped you in between, you know, since then. When's the last time you said he snapped you? Was it a couple days ago or something? Or yeah, we had a snap like within the last week, I want to say. Okay. And it was a picture. Like, he sends me some weird ass pictures sometimes too, but it was like a picture of, I can't remember exactly what the hell the picture was, but there was a 4-letter thing on there, and I'm not good with like emojis and all that. Yeah, like the WTF type stuff. All that type shit. Like, I know a lot of the basics, but it was something really, really unusual that I've never seen. Okay. And I tried to figure it out for like 30 seconds, and I just couldn't make any sense of it. So I'm like, instead of trying to figure this shit out, I sent him a message back, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And then he didn't send me a message back, and I was like, okay. I'm like, whatever. You know, I wouldn't try to contact him again, of course, which I'm sure you're not going to. Absolutely.
if
Trust me, there will be
if
zero
perchance
contact. If he contacts me, I'm gonna call you.
if perchance he sends you something, screenshot it or whatever, so that at least we can say that, hey, this guy is continuing to
Yeah.
contact
And see,
you.
it was
stuff.
weird too, because the night that we met, I remember my best friend, like I said, was in the car with me.
Mhm.
He wanted to do like the whole Snapchat thing, and I'm like, okay, I get it. You're like, 20, 21, whatever the hell. I'm like, you're living at home with mom. I'm like, I get it if you don't want to like text
Sure.
for like, because you might not be paying your cell phone bill or whatever. But then it was just so weird too, because like the whole night he was talking about how that was his house and like he owned it. And he was planning on selling it and moving to Colorado. Then he was going to sell it and move to California because there's more like legal drugs there. And then again, I told him, I'm like, dude, why the fuck do you keep mentioning like?
Now, did he know?
Like
Do you
drugs,
know that you're a cop or no?
I would assume so because I made mention of it. Like,
Oh, okay. I just didn't know if it was. Okay, I didn't know if it was something that he knew or not, or didn't, or.
I can't remember.
Because that would be really weird for him to keep talking like that when.
Oh,
knows
he
what
asked
you
me
do.
because then he got nervous when he like mentioned the drug things, and I told him that's what it was. I didn't like throw the information out
Okay.
there, and he's like, "Oh, you're not a cop or something, are you?" And
Well.
I forgot what the exact verbiage that I used was, but it was like, "Well, as a matter of fact," I'm like,
Okay.
and that's part of the reason I wanted to see that room too, because
Yeah.
I told him, I'm like, "Dude, if this is
Yeah.
any kind of fucking, trap house or you actually have shit growing in here," I'm like, I'm out of here. And there's phone calls I gotta make.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. All right.
So yeah, that's
And well, I'll get you one of my cards too. That way,
Yes,
if
please
you
do,
think
'cause-
of anything else, or if anything else comes up, call me right away, and then we can go from there. And I'll
I
have
don't
to.
understand either why he would say that he like doesn't know who the person is. I mean, you messaged me, so it's
Yeah.
like.
Did you when you talked to him? He said he just knew you as Pep. That's what he said.
Yeah.
That. I
Yeah,
mean,
we
did he know your
exchanged-
last name or anything like that, or have your phone number or any other?
No, he didn't want to exchange phone numbers.
Okay.
I don't know if we exchanged. Oh, he told me his full name. He asked me for my name, and I honestly don't remember if I gave him my last name or not.
Okay.
But he told me what his name was, and then, I was like, okay. I took note of it, and then he kept saying that he wanted to hang out, and it was just like, you could knock off all the weird shit, I guess. The weird shit, I guess.